What is up, everybody? This is Lyle, No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. Still coming at you from the Paulsboro, TA. Tried to take a nap, and I might have to get up on some of this melatonin or something back here because haven't really been able to get to sleep. So I started thinking about some of these questions that people had asked, so I figured out answer one of them now. It's been a while, maybe a few days since I got to my comments section to reply, but I do look at them as they come in, but I'll get to replying to them shortly. But let's get to a question somebody had. I thought it was a good question. This one comes from I'm Surly, and the question is, I've been thinking about driving for a while. I remember when you were in training. Do you regret anything? Your perspective is spot on. Be a team player and treat people well. But do you still love driving? All right, good question. You know what? Let's get into that. I've touched on this I know I've touched on this before, but let's get into my biggest regrets with Prime. For those of you guys that have been with me, I spent forever in training, not because I had to, but because I wanted to come out here and not have any issues when I got out on my own. So I'm kind of one of those, measure twice, cut once type people. So I spent training from all the way in like April, and I didn't get off my trainer's truck till like November. So that's a long time in training. One of the reasons I stretched it out a little bit longer was because I wanted to start my lease in a January, just so I wouldn't have a partial time in 1 year dragging into the next year. So I was going to wait a little bit longer. But one of my regrets was staying that long in training. Now, I don't regret staying longer, because when I got out here on my own, trust me, I'm not gonna try to make myself seem more than I am, but I doubt that there's that many people that come out of training that were as on point as I was. And I mean, what else do you expect? I mean, 7 months in training, it's obviously going to be a more seamless transition. And I did that because stress. I don't like being stressed out or not knowing stuff, so definitely didn't have to worry about that. But I would have tightened up that training schedule just a tad bit. If I had to do over again, instead of spending around 140,000 miles in training, I would have probably stayed, let's see, April, so May, June, July, August, 5, 10, 15, 20. Oh. I would have probably cut that in about half. So let's say, maybe I would have cut it, I would have probably done between 55 and 65,000 miles as opposed to what I did. The reason for that is, some of that training was a little bit of overkill, but it pushed everything else out further than, looking back on it, I wish I had pushed it. So had I got out of training faster, I would have leased faster, I would have done the lease purchase faster. So everything would have been, let's say, 6 months sooner than it is now. My truck that I'm leasing now would be paid off 6 months faster, yada yada. So I would have cut my training down a little bit. That's my first regret. My second regret was not going lease purchase right off the bat. Now people are saying, but Lyle, they say you have to lease for 3 months before you can order your truck and all that stuff. That might be if you order a truck. But at the time I was coming through, there were trucks that were coming in that I could have just done a lease purchase right off the bat. Maybe not order it, but done a lease purchase on one of those trucks that was coming in. That was an offer that was made. And I know somebody else that's in training now that did the same thing, about to do the same thing, already put his money down, and another guy that I spoke with has done the same thing. So that's my second regret. I would have stepped right into a lease purchase as opposed to getting in the first lease and then leasing it, realizing, oh shoot, I'm throwing all this money away. Let me hurry up and get into a lease purchase and go that route. So I did end up losing probably about $5,000 of a lease completion bonus doing that. So I kind of got some regrets about that. So that's kind of 2 in 1. I wish I'd have just done a lease purchase right off the bat, and I wish I didn't just do the standard lease in the beginning. Another regret, and this is going to kind of be a little bit different, is I would have focused. I probably wouldn't have listened to as many negative YouTube channels, or I would have paid it no mind, or Facebook posts. Because sometimes, you know, as much as we try to be strong and that stuff doesn't affect us or anything like that, I probably wouldn't have spent as much time focusing on that in the beginning. Trying to think if there's anything else. Regrets that I have. Probably regret not ordering this second truck sooner. Because once I started doing the math on it, and I really don't know why I dragged my feet on that second truck. You know, once I started doing the math on it, I was like, okay, it just made sense to do it. Just from the mathematics. Even if the truck broke even, or let's even say this truck coming in, I lose, let's say $500 a week on it over the course of 3 years. Even that's an actual, you're still going to come out ahead if that's the case. And that's not going to be the case, but I'm just saying, if you want to take the reduction to the ridiculous. So, that is a regret. Now, what was the other question? Do you still love driving? I'm going to keep it real with you. I'm going to keep it as real as I can with you on this. I never really liked driving, to be honest with you. I mean, I never wake up and be like, oh, I'm excited. Let me go knock out these, 500-600 miles. I never wake up like, I love driving. The driving is a means to an end. And I think that kind of cuts both ways. I think because I don't really like driving, like if somebody said, Lyle, you can sit today and make some money, or you could drive, I'm going to choose the not driving part of that. Now, I don't hate it, but it's just a job. And I think what separates me from a lot of people is that I do look at it like a job. Like I'm not sightseeing, I'm not bullshitting around. This is all about the job. You know what I'm saying? So, I think it does cut both ways on that. I don't have to like a job to do it. But since it is a job and not something that I like. Now, some people could say, well, if you love it, then you do it the same way. Maybe, but I think some people get caught up in the romanticism of driving trucks. Since I'm not that way, and I look at it as a serious job, I learn my logs. I'm very detail oriented when it comes to this job. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that I look at it like a job. You never see pictures of me out here, doing stuff, And I was talking to my wife about that just the other day, and she's like, well, you should get out a little bit more. And I was like, you know what? I'm just not I think that would be, since it is kind of a sacrifice, I'm looking at it like a sacrifice. I'm not going to have my wife at home, dealing with all that, and me out here, taking pictures and going out and doing all that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's the long version of it. I've never really woke up in the morning and said, all right, let's go driving. So I've never loved driving. It's been, it's the easiest job, as I always say, and somebody in safety said, anybody that says this is an easy job is doing it wrong. Well, I am doing this job extremely wrong. because it's the easiest job, and that's really one of the saving graces of it. If this was a high-stress job, I would not be doing it. You know, if this was a hard job, I would not be doing it. You know, there's too many other ways to skin a cat, as they'd say, to do something that is hard and stressful. So that is my answer to that. Trying to think if there's anything else. You know, I will give a shout out to somebody brought up, a lot of times when people start talking about drivers, they want to focus on these foreign drivers are messing up the industry and all this stuff. And I wish I'd had my camera playing, because I didn't think it was going to take as long as it did. But there was some, a couple, this was not a major training school. This was like probably somebody just teaching somebody how to drive, older truck, the whole thing. And probably from Ethiopia, somewhere like that. And these are angled spots of this TA. And this guy spent probably 40 minutes. Actually, if you saw my last video, that was going on while I was doing that video, but probably 40 minutes getting this guy into this angled spot. And it took 40 minutes because he was like not taking over. He was not like, he would tell him what to do every now. It was like, I thought it was a fine piece of training. You know what I'm saying? I think myself and a lot of people could learn from that, because, I think sometimes as a trainer, you start getting worried about what's going on in the truck stop and things like that. And he really did a good job on that. Last time I saw that type of dedication in training was a trainer at Raider Express. I did a video on that a long time ago. But anyway, enough about that. Those are my answers to that question. And then my next questions I'm going to answer probably within the next 4 or 5 days. I think I might have misquoted what I was going to do in the last video I did. Somebody was had questions about buying a house, being a truck driver. So we'll get into that one within the next 4 or 5 days, maybe earlier. Anyway, I'm gonna come back here, take some of this melatonin, and maybe put on some ABBA, some soft music, and see if I could take my ass to sleep. Just want to think real quick, is there anything else that I regret? No. So, thanks for stopping by No Hippie Trucking Transportation. I appreciate it. Comment, subscribe, and I'm out.